you ready?
This is the D-Generation ClixMania podcast. Here are your hosts, Ryan Redmond, Miles Kane, and Daniel Schwab.
Welcome back to the D-Generation ClixMania podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me, as always, are Miles, Dan, and Pete. Miles, I know what the rest of us did all weekend, but what about you?
Yeah, I didn't do much of anything. I kept up with you guys. I had some family stuff I was dealing with. It seems to be good. Uncle had surgery. Seems to be successful. And then working out in this ridiculous heat. That's pretty much what I've been doing the last few days.
Good, yeah, and I saw you on the live streams a lot all weekend.
Yeah. Well, the mother-in-law took all the kids up to Washington, so we had a few days without him. So that was different. It's been a while since I've been away from 5 kids for that long.
For sure.
Unless I'm working, of course.
Yeah, nice. Dan, you judged the whole weekend with Jeremy, which I must say you guys did a phenomenal job. What would you say how the weekend went?
I think it went good. I mean, it felt like without Jeremy, it wouldn't have been nearly as smooth because he kept the rounds. I made sure to tell everyone to report their stuff whenever games finished. But I mean, yeah, I feel like it went smooth. But that was a lot of that hinged on Jeremy because he kept the best coast pairings up and kept the rounds moving. Yeah,
and then he actually went back and entered everything in the win also as an event, which was cool.
Yeah, so no, that was really awesome. I definitely do not think I could have kept all of that going by myself. So I would not have been able to do this without Jeremy. So I do really appreciate all of his help. Yeah,
honestly, I think so. We did 5 rounds, and I think that was the fastest 5 rounds has ever felt. So yeah, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, like him doing all that allowed me to keep time and allowed me to just kind of do the round over round pretty fast as far as that and keep tables going. So
yeah, it went really well.
Because I did not want. That was the biggest thing on Saturday was I didn't want us being there until 9 o'clock. I think we were done by 7, and we started at 10. So yeah, 10-hour day. Still long, but I didn't want it to be, like a 12+ hour day.
Yeah, I didn't want to be pushing 9 p.m., 10 p.m. So I think it worked out really well, and I was surprised at how fast it went. So yeah, real smooth. Pete, we'll get into your ClixMania weekend, but anything else going on since last week?
No, this is my long week at work, so I'm kind of just settling into that. But we had we had a great weekend, and we'll talk about it as we go. But in addition to ClixMania, had to spend a lot of time with buddies, and so that was cool.
Nice. All right. Well, this weekend was ClixMania 2024. Now, before we get into the event, we wanted to bring on our Fellowship Award winner, Oliver, to tell us what he thought about the weekend. Oliver, how did you like this weekend?
It was fun.
It was fun. What was your record on Saturday? What did you play?
I played...
What was your record?
2 out of 3.
You had 2 wins and 3 losses, right?
Yep.
All right, and what was your build?
My build was Prime Colossus with the Billy Clubs, the Butterfly, Kong, Black Skull with the Black Symbiote, Mephisto, and Black Short Scott Porter.
All right, and what did you usually turn into with the Butterfly each round?
Major Logan.
Major Logan, was he? Did he surprise a lot of people this weekend?
Yes.
Yes. Did you like that?
I remember he made somebody mad.
Who did he make mad?
Brookwood.
Yep, Mr. Black Lantern Superman himself. So you like the team, though?
Yeah.
What was your favorite piece on your team?
Prime Colossus, obviously.
Yeah? Are you thinking you'll change anything on the team before your next event?
I'm not sure.
Not sure
Depends
yet.
on what comes out and what we have
Okay.
from sets.
What about the silver event on Sunday? How was that?
Okay.
That was okay. What did you think about playing in a Silver Age event?
It was fun.
It was fun? Was it a lot of stuff to remember?
Not really.
No? You thought it went fine and smooth?
Yeah.
All right. Any of those pieces that you played on Sunday that you might want to play again? Or you want to stick to modern?
Modern.
Stick to modern?
Stick to
Okay.
modern.
All right. What else did you do ClixMania weekend?
I played BRs.
All right. What did you walk away from in the BRs?
A super rare Scarlet Witch was a main thing and a Prime Colossus. Those were the two main things I got.
And so now you got your own Prime Colossus?
Yes.
All right. And then after this weekend was over, you were crowned the fellowship winner for playing great games with a great positive attitude, win or lose. What did you get for fellowship?
I got an Iconics Kong and a Retail Chase booster.
Very nice. And what was in the retail chase booster?
Rare Beast, Super Rare Long Shot, Wolverine and Nelson and a Reaper Pug and an Obizo Pug.
Okay, great. Do you have any teams in mind with those pieces yet?
No.
No, I know you
'Cause
like all those pieces,
Pulp
though.
ruined my team.
What's that?
Pulp ruined my team.
Oh, the next day, yeah. We played Pulp on Monday, so he wasn't able to play any of his pieces that he wanted to. All right, well, thanks for joining us, Ali. I'm glad you had a blast this weekend. You did great. Are you excited for Worlds?
Yes!
All right. Well, Ali will be joining us at Worlds, so if you see him, say hi. But on to our event breakdowns. So Saturday was our Modern 300 Undisputed Championship event. We ended up with a total of 20 players, 5 rounds of Swiss, followed by a cut to top 8. Pete and I both played in the event. My build was... Where is it here? A 100-point Arachnite with the Soul Sword, and I played the Prime Vox Ignis with the Avatar of Khonshu on him in case he popped out. He would get that still. Madam Web with the Web Shooters, Black Shirt Scott Porter, Legacy KC Green Lantern with the Green Lantern Ring, and then 2 of the Legacy Daredevils, both at 10 points. And I would have Cathan on Arachnite and Amit's Tomb, and then... Pete, that's only 295 points. What do you think was the final 5 points?
Oh man, we'll get into that piece of crap piece at some point here.
Would you say it was a nifty piece?
I would say it was a very nifty piece. Giant pile of trash.
Well, the traffic barrel also made the team. I was stoked to see that they made a Prime Vox Ignis, so I really wanted to make him work. Overall, he did some, he worked pretty great in most of the matches, but taking 90 points off the board kind of hurt me too much in the matches that I did lose. There just wasn't enough damage output. So together, it's like basically 200 points on Arachnite because he's got the Soul Sword and him. So they did a lot together. Vox on Arachnite gave him Cosmic Energy, so you can't outwit him. He always had willpower. He gained Pensai. He had a minimum range of 4, which was nice for when he did Hypersonic. And then he has that trait that turns the positive modifiers into negative modifiers on their defense, which was huge. So if the target was adjacent to a friendly character and they had Black Shirt Scott Porter, they were -1. Through hindering, you can make a -1. Combat Reflexes, ESD, those are both -2. So Vox did a lot, but it was just a lot to take 90 points off the board. So I'll make some changes in the future, but it was fun to actually run and just kind of give it a test drive. So round 1, I played Dave Miles. Dave is part of a play group a little north of us called Into the Warp. They started playing, I believe, around this time last year. And I think I saw him. He was just messaging in the local HeroClix pages when I sent him some messages. So I've been talking to him for quite a while and was trying to get him to come compete. So it was really cool to kind of see them come out and actually meet Dave face to face. So Dave played a... was it Mystical team? He had the 048 Ghost Rider with Mercy, Kong with the Avatar of Khonshu, Blackheart with the Trick Arrows, Kong, and then both Scott Porters. So let's see here. I think he won initiative and he chose map. So he took me to Terra Verde, which is one of those new maps from Deadpool, Weapon X. And turn 1, I basically just ramped up Amit's Tomb, and he came right across against me his turn 2, and he brought up both Kongs, and he opened up with some pretty heavy attacks, and he hit. I know he at least crit hit me with one of the first 2, because I let that actually stand so I could pocket 2 of the 6s on Madam Web. And then when it went back to my turn, then I sent Madam Web up to the middle so she could kind of see everything I was going to do. And then I was able to hypersonic and one-shot Blackheart, which I actually have done quite a few times now, because I think he's printed 17.
Yeah, he's not top. He's not very hard to hit top dial. Yeah, he's a 17 invuln for 50 points.
Okay, yeah. So with Arachnite and Vox, he basically turned a 17 into a 15 if he was adjacent and through hindering, and it was not hard to get him to a 14. So it was basically like just don't crit miss. But then I went around his Kongs and I took out the Black Heart, and then I got my free boop and just placed next to the porters, and I was able to hit them. And then he kind of split his Kongs up, and he left one by my Daredevils that were by my starting zone, and then the other one he kind of took the fight to Arachnite, and then he was able to get Green Lantern and a Daredevil, and then I was just able to keep hitting senses and auto-succeeding with Madam Web for the rest of my team. So I took out his porters, and then his Ghost Rider, and then the Kongs fell, and then the final score was 300-30. But Dave had a great day. That was his biggest event that he went to, so he did awesome for his first time. Things ended up turning around for him too a little bit later. Pete, do you want to tell us your build and what you ran for your round 1?
I think even if you kill a piece a lot, you shouldn't call it a shark. That's just my response to the last
Black Shark is 100% his new name. So, yeah,
now you know my opinion on the piece.
Oh man,
We love Scott Porter the person, maybe not necessarily the figure.
Just not the pieces.
Yeah.
So I had a double Kong team. I had Kong with Avatar Vomit.
You were definitely not the only one with the double Kong team, but
no. Avatar of Khonshu, Blackheart to place my favorite apes, Black Skull and Mephisto for MOE swap, and then both porters with the Sinestro Core ring on the white shirt porter. My sideline was Chthon, 3 MOE swaps, King Killmonger, Doom Supreme, and Iron Inquisitor. And then Khonshu and Amit. I first round played Chris McGuire, who played a Spider-Man family team with Arachnite, Thorgwyn, Black Suit Spider-Man, Madam Web. And it was a fun game. I've played against Spider-Man or Madam Web so much locally that if I see that piece hit the board, I'm pretty much trying to kill it as fast as humanly possible with any other super senses on the team.
I remember watching you just march over there. I was like, oh, he left Madam Web wide open. He's going to murder that thing.
Yeah, and I think he wasn't... I don't think he was thinking that's the way I was going to go. Once you get Madam Web and they're not auto-succeeding on super senses, everything else is kind of a little more easy to deal with. I will say my dice were super hot the first game, so I think it probably gave me a little more confidence in my team than what should have been. The thing I struggled with all day was my Alpha Strike was great. Like, come across the board, I can get 2 probability controls, I've got the 3 community tokens. I mean, I'm rolling, monkeys are just punching things into walls and everything else. But after that, it was really a struggle of like how to deploy my team. So that's one of the things that I'm looking on for Worlds. But Chris is a great guy. I didn't have I had one bad game all weekend. We'll talk about that next, I guess, round 2. But
yeah, we will.
So no, I'm just kidding. I didn't have one unenjoyable game all weekend. Everybody was there to have fun, and the community was really friendly and fun, and I had an absolute blast. So I ended up actually winning that game, and I don't have my final score. Sorry. I know I got 300 points. I don't know what Chris got, because I accidentally cut that off of my screenshot. So sorry, Chris. So that was my round 1 game.
All right. Well, round 2, I played Super Noob Pete. I know I got to pick map, and Pete, I took to Major Brock's bunker. What's your opinion on this map, Pete?
I think the map is fantastic. I think the main problem is I completely misunderstood how to play my team against you with how the Quake works and stuff. My goal, I spent a good probably 7 minutes of our match trying to figure out how to kill the traffic barrel on turn one. And I got to the end of it, and I even said to you, and this is kind of a rule between us, like, Redmond's always a pretty gregarious guy and will explain stuff to you. Monday nights is like open to like just feedback and stuff because that's our kind of our casual play night for whatever qualifies for casual with us. But I knew I was just not seeing something. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can kill this thing this turn, and I was willing to just throw my team out there just to get rid of that piece. But I finally just ended up saying, I can't figure this out, and I know you're not going to tell me, and I don't blame you because it's a competitive event. So I just like to know at the end what I missed. And I was way too passive. I spent so much time trying to get to Madam Web, and you kept moving her, that I basically think the only points I actually got off you was I killed those 2 daredevils, which that's just such a pain in the butt to do.
One of them.
And Arachnite, did I only get one?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember. I don't remember what ended up happening. So it was not a great game. I was pretty frustrated for most of it, honestly, just because anytime you have to attack that team, like, you're basically just praying you hit, but no 6 shows up because you're not hitting then another attack.
Yeah.
So even with the action economy of the Kongs and even being able to go multiple times with the Kongs at the end because most of my team is dead, like, it's just a frustrating. It's not an impressive team. It's a very frustrating team to play with. And on that map, to answer your first question, like, placement is so big with the Colossals that you end up spending unnecessary actions to blow walls out and stuff just so you can attack again. So that's my feedback on the map. I think it's a great map, and I think it's going to be huge, honestly, going forward in competitive play. I think that's going to be a lot of people's favorite maps.
Well, especially with now Gen Con and Worlds only having small maps, and I think we don't have like an official number, but Dan, what would you say the number of teams that were playing a Kong was out of 20?
At least 40%, like 40 to 50%. I feel like it was close.
Oh,
like
I would have said like
a lot of
75, 80.
Oh, okay, maybe I underestimated that a bit. That was my like general what I remember, but I guess I'm pulling in 2 days worth of teams. So yeah, the modern event, yeah, it was very high.
I would say it was 60% of teams, but I think there were enough Kongs on those 60% of the teams to have like 70% of the teams to have Kongs. Because there was a couple 2 Kong teams.
Yeah, well, maybe it was just like the teams I went up against, but like Dave's team had 2 Kongs in my round 1. I played against 2 more.
Pete, who had 2 Kongs?
Pete had 2 Kongs, and then the next 3 people all had a Kong, and then I didn't play a non-Kong team until top 8. So. Yeah, but with the traffic barrel and that map, it's probably the easiest way to shut down Kongs, and the only way to get that map right now is doing an ROC win a map. So they're pretty rare to get. But I know I was able to take out your black card on turn 1 again, same way, and then I think it just came down to Arachnite going all over the board and being able to dodge you. And then, like you said, when you would try to hit, I would have a 6 anyway, or I'd hit the senses and get a 6 later. So.
I almost got Madam Web. I crit hit Pulse Wave, turned to the wall, and she had like 1 click left, and you had a pocket 6, and I couldn't do anything else.
Yep.
And I don't like to play slow in our games. We get through a lot of turns, honestly. When you and I play each other, it's normally 6 or 7 turns, because we're both pretty quick players and making decisions. So that's one of the fun parts of it. But just seeing the pocket 6s on her and not being able to kill her, I was like, man, I'm kind of screwed here.
And then to add insult to injury, I did run her over to the Scott Porter and support her back up to full. So she did end the map at full health.
Yes.
Final score was 20, or was it 230 to 10? So yeah, I think you got a Daredevil.
Yeah, that's it then.
And then round 3, I played Matt Prignano. So Matt played a Prime Colossus with the motorcycle. He played Kong with Avatar Vomit, Wonder Woman with the Soul Sword, the White Shirt Porter with the Sinestro Core Ring, Black Shirt Porter, 1 Legacy Daredevil at 20 points with the Trick Arrows, and then a Lucas, PJ, and Scott Pog. And then he had Cathan on the sideline as well. So I got to pick map again, went right back to Major Brock's Bunker. Again, that's just the easiest way to ramp up Amit's Tomb and keep people away from me, especially with Kongs. So he came at me with I think it was his Daredevil, Colossus, and Kong, and he was able to get Colossus and Daredevil into the bunker, but then as soon as he got into one of the smaller rooms on the lower elevation, he kind of got jammed up when I based him, and so his Colossus and Daredevil were just kind of stuck in a doorway, and then his Kong just could not get in because of the barrel. So I was able to run up on him with Vox, and with the combat reflexes, he was already going from a 20 to an 18, and then it's not hard to get a Rack Knight to, again, like a 13 or 14. So I was able to take out Colossus, and then he had a Death Metal Wonder Woman that he brought in there too, and I think I was able to take out her. He got my Green Lantern, and I don't remember what is so Colossus and Wonder Woman. That would have been 130. So I don't know what else. The final score is 185 to 20, so I'm not sure what else I got. It might have been his Daredevil and the Pog and something else. But it was a good game. We just kind of kept fighting, and I was able to roll out of a lot of the attacks. And then same thing, just getting a couple of sixes helped out a lot. What about you, Pete?
I ended up playing Dakota, and I'm going to say his last name wrong, and I'm sorry, Dakota Barones? I don't know. Nice guy, great guy, new player. Started with that group that came down with, is it Dave Miles?
Yeah.
We ended up playing, he won map, he took me to the courtroom map on from the She-Hulk thing, and I just exited out of the wrong window, so let me find his play. Nope, I'm not going to find it quickly. I remember he had two Madisons, Kong with Avatar of Amit, Blackheart. He had the red symbiote on Blackheart, which I thought was interesting. And then he also had... what else did Dakota have? Sorry, guys, I'm looking like rapidly for the build sheet, and I just exited out of the thing. It was a great game. I was able to basically get across the board as my team was designed to do, and essentially hit his Madisons. The one Madison poofs off and doesn't die, but the other one does. And then I was able to kind of just take out his support and fight through the rest of his team. At the end, it was Man-Thing and Kong, and his dice just kind of ran out on him. He wasn't able to hit some of the higher numbers because I still had my Black Shirt Porter and everybody pretty stacked up. And then with the MOE swap, even if you're doing damage most of the time, like I'm getting it back. So you kind of have to get rid of Mephisto, or really you have to get rid of the MOE and then get rid of Mephisto to really cripple that. So it was a very fun game. I ended up scoring, I think, 300, and he ended up getting 75. He's a good player. He really fun to play with. He wants to learn and play the game, and I really enjoyed interacting with all those guys. So I hope that we see them more events in the future.
Yeah, I will admit that was really nice. Was when I was doing when they had questions, everyone was super receptive to everything. It wasn't like, like they had questions, but it wasn't like when I gave them an answer, it wasn't like fighting back and forth about the answer, which was nice. Because sometimes I know you get that with people, but everyone was like really receptive to like going over stuff whenever they did have questions. So that was really nice, because there was a lot of stuff that came up.
I think a lot of people honestly were there to kind of learn a little bit too, and so yeah, everyone was just kind of excited to play, and everything was really positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I'm sorry, he had a Scott Porter and some trick arrows too. So it was a fun build. It was fun to see Man-Thing, and he did some good things with him. It just is, I think my action economy really got the better of him, was what it was. So.
All right, and then on to round 4. So I played Rick Prignano. Rick played similar to his brother. It was Colossus with a motorcycle, Kong with Avatar of Amit, except he had an MOE swap with Black Skull and Mephisto with the Bucky's arm, and then White Shirt Porter with Sinestro Core, Black Shirt Porter, and then the Warlock Sword on Black Shirt Porter, and then a bunch of MOE swaps on the sideline. So I think...
This is Richard Prignano Sr., by the way, not because there was a senior and a junior. So, because his son, I'm pretty sure, is also named Richard Prignano, because he was also there attending for Saturday.
Oh, okay. I did not play the son. I think the son was playing Cosmic Solar Surfer team, right? Or Carnage?
Yeah, he had double Surfer, Blackheart, and then what was that Kong, Mern, and Blackheart. So I just wanted so we knew who exactly you were playing. So
Okay. Yeah. So then this was I think Rick. But last time I played Rick was at Adepticon. So he brought this up too because he remembered it, I think, pretty vividly. He had a camo on a motorcycle, and he did not realize what Brother Voodoo could do. So he kind of just threw camo right at me, and between Arachnite and Brother Voodoo, he got one turn. So he remembered that and did not throw Colossus at me this game. He did bring him into the bunker, though, because I took him to the bunker also. And we basically just had a brawl in that back hallway, just a single column. And he was able to kind of move in and out a little bit, or like back and forth in that hallway. And I stayed on the other side. And then he was finally able to inch his Kong in. But then my Daredevils kind of just held off the rest of his team so that it was either try to go through that one single column of hallway or through the Daredevils. So it ended up just being his Kong versus, what was it, my Scott Porter and I think Madam Web and Arachnite snuck back there too. And his Kong was just hitting every impervious roll. All I needed him to do was miss one of the first ones, and he just kept hitting every single impervious roll. But then I finally just decided to make the chainsaw with Green Lantern, and I was able to double crit hit with the flurry on the lantern to take the Kong down, and he missed the impervious rolls on those. So and that was pretty close to the end, so that's actually what did it with Kong and Amit. That was 60 points, and then the extra 10 for a maxed out Amit's Tomb, so that was 70. So final score for that one was 70-10, but that was a good game too. I forgot to mention after my game with Matt, he said that he was Team Pete for the barrel.
Yeah, the resistance is growing, one member at a time.
You'll be buying one soon.
Barrel it. Barrel leave it.
You better barrel leave.
Oh Jesus! I had one actually. I actually looked it up the last time I'm sitting in my ClixMania dungeon, and I have that stupid piece, and maybe I'll blow it up on stream or something, just for some.
Instead of playing it,
you and Matt Looper with the shooting the Shatterstar into orbit.
Well, his is a much more reasonable approach than what mine is to this piece, because this one's pretty hard to get. I agree with it, Matt. I'm on board. Let me know when we're blowing things up.
What was your round 4, Pete?
I actually played Matt, the brothers, with his Colossus team that you had already played and went over. One thing I will say about his team is Colossus on a motorcycle. Miles, you were right. Put everything on a motorcycle; it gets better. I did not. One TK. That thing was across the board and on me, and I hadn't played against a Colossus yet, so I was still trying to kind of figure out how I wanted to play it. And so I made the mistake of trying to kind of do what I normally do, which is go after support and leave him alone. And that was a huge mistake. So he ended up taking me to the woodshed 300-50. But it was a very fun game. I don't even remember what I got on his team to get the 50 points. At that point, I was just happy to get points because he was just terminating apes left and right with Prime Colossus.
Wait, you said you played Matt?
Yeah.
Matt Brignano? Hold on just a second. I think
it was either Wonder Woman or both Porters.
I think I probably got both Porters, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that's what sounds like the most realistic was both Porters.
I mean, I saw some of that match, and I mean, you guys were going back and forth. Like it was just, he just caught you completely off guard. Like you did not know how much reach he had. And no, that was the only thing that messed with you. Otherwise, I think the outcome might have been a bit different. But yeah, I think I saw you be like, "Oh, he can get me." I was like, yeah, he can get that far.
Well, I said, it looks like you got a TK, but I think I'm still okay. And then all of a sudden he's like, well, here I am. And I'm like, the motorcycle really does make a difference. The mayor was right as usual. So it was good to play against him. I kind of have a better strategy of dealing because I got to play against a couple Prime Colossuses. Colossi. I don't know what the plural is of that.
That'd be Colossi.
I like Colossi.
Okay. Yeah. So it was a fun game. I can't even, like, you're gonna hear me say the same thing constantly. Like, the event was so smooth and well ran, and everybody was excited to be there, that even when you did have a bad game, it wasn't, like, it didn't stay with you the rest of the day. Wasn't like some bigger tournaments where you kind of leave the table with like a sour taste in your mouth. So I really enjoyed the whole weekend.
Yeah, everybody was just really positive and happy to be there and play. It was a great environment. Round 5, I played Ken Small. Ken played a 100-point Arachnite, the Death Metal Wonder Woman, and then she had the Hell Cycle. He had Kong, Mad Jim Jaspers, White Shirt Porter with Sinestro Core, and then Black Shirt Porter. That was the only Arachnite I think I saw all day against me. Dan, do you know offhand how many there were?
There was 3, I believe, in total. There was another mystical team running around that I just don't think you matched up with that had Arachnite. It was like Arachnite and Wong, I think, were the main 2 headliners. Okay. Yeah, from what I saw from your match against Ken, you guys were in like a straight up boxing match. I was like, every time I walked over, like for the first, like I think half of the match, it just felt like you two dancing around the ring or basically like on the map, and then suddenly like a bunch of stuff. Like I walked away, and then because for everybody that didn't know, the top table was in a different part of the store, just because it was a little more isolated and so it was quieter, so the recording could be clearer. So I was like pacing back and forth to cover everybody else and then go check top table. Jeremy was there, but I was just trying to keep an eye on everything. So like every time I walk back, I'm just like waiting, and then all of a sudden I go away and come back, and a bunch of stuff happened.
Oh no, it was rough. Ken and I always have good games. This one did not go my way. So going into round 5, I was 4-0. And for the most part, my dice were pretty cooperative, but we both maxed out our Amos Tomb right away. But he equipped trick arrows on his Kong with Mad Jim, and then he just sent Kong right at me, and he just kept hitting me. I had like a 4 through 6 senses, 3 through 6 senses, just pretty much missing everything. And it was rough. He took out my team pretty quick, and then he sent his Arachnite in to kind of help clean up. And then
the only time that you got senses was when you used the rally die from
Madam Web. I had to auto succeed on it to get it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's the only time you succeeded on it was with those rally dies. Yeah, it was rough to watch.
Yep, it was a rough game to live through. So he got me. It's one of those games too where it kind of showed me that it's just not going to work with Vox. He does a lot of cool stuff, but it just, again, super aggressive teams taking 90 points off the map and just only having Arachnite as your main attacker. It isn't enough against some teams. So
the Daredevils are really point efficient, like as far as like they're a good attacker for 10 points. But you needed more than just Arachnite does a lot, right? Like he can fly around the room and hit a lot of stuff. But there was definitely times where I saw where you were pretty tapped out, and that was when the teams that had more characters that could attack and be aggressive, I think, were able to take advantage of your team.
Right.
That was the only thing that I saw from like the matches I was able to like watch a little bit closer.
And a big thing too is I took Jennifer Kale off the team, and so I was back to having to deal with 14 and 15 attacks on my defense, which was rough. Whereas before, people were just missing like a bunch of their attacks because they just couldn't perplex up their attack. So like Kong, I think, came in at a 15 attack, and so 15 on a 19, 20, 21, that's not impossible to hit. So if people aren't getting those 6s when they hit, then I can't pocket anything on Madam Web, and then it kind of just goes down if I'm not making those super sense rolls naturally. So, yeah, he got me 0 to 300. That was a rough one.
Why did you take Kale off your team? Was it in response to the worry about Ivies?
I really honestly just wanted to play Vox, and so fitting 90 points onto this build was not easy.
Because Vox does a lot of what Kale does, as far as like if you're asking about that, only for Arachnite, unfortunately. But he brings, because he makes all positive modifiers into negative modifiers, but only when Arachnite is attacking opposing characters, if I'm not mistaken.
A single target, yeah.
Or a single target, sorry. So he gives you a similar benefit, but he doesn't give it to you defensively, where Kale is both, but she's squishy. So
Right. So like
if he allowed it for whenever they were targeted, that positive modifiers became negative,
yeah.
that would be much better.
Oh, I mean, it's still
Especially
good. It's still good, right? Because you're talking about Vox having that effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from the box, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be making more sense with him at 90 points.
Yeah, because he's 90. He's your prime. I mean, he's really good. Don't get me wrong. I liked the strat, and it was like when it worked, it worked. That was just like the one. That was the one drawback I got to see. Now that I've got to see you play that team a couple times, I'm like, there was the difficulty was you managing that.
Well, like for the first 4 matches, I gave up, let's see, 30, 10, 60, 70. I only gave up 70 points total in the first 4 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it definitely worked to some extent, but like I said, it really just comes down to like some super aggressive teams. If they got those high attacks, they're not hitting the 6s, it just doesn't work. So, but Pete, what was your round 5?
I played Charles Miller. Charles is from another local play group out of Wisconsin, who's come down to a couple of events. And they're a great group of guys, too. They've been playing for a while. They're a very experienced group, but always fun to play. He played a non-theme team, actually, and which I thought was interesting. He had Prime Colossus with the motorcycle. He had the 75-point Wong that can phase and then flurry. Saint Walker at 60. And then he had the Light of Galador on Wong, and then the Blue Lantern Ring on St. Walker for free. Baby Groot, and then the Madison for 20 points of double perplex. So our game was a little different. That team was a lot more resilient than I thought. My first initial thing was to get Madison out of where she could start perplexing everything. So I came across and quaked and kind of threw her up against a wall and moved her off and hit Colossus. And Prime Colossus is amazing, but if you get him off of his top couple of clicks, he's not quite as bad. He's at least not killing a full dial Kong when he hits him one time, or a full 50-point Kong when he hits him one time. So that was kind of my thing that I figured out talking to people in between rounds of just talking clicks of like, what have you guys played against Prime Colossus? Like, how do you guys deal with it? And everybody's like, just you have to hit him. Like, you can't ignore him and leave him there, or he's just going to chew through your team. I did eventually, I want to say I did kill Colossus. No, I never killed Colossus. I ended up winning like 120 to 85, so the game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. My healing with ability to swap MOE, and then with the Black Shirt Porter and Amit on one of the Kongs is really what kept me in it, because it was just constantly like my Kongs were at top dial. So
did they get mind controlled at all that game?
They did. Yeah, he did. But I was able to, and one time it was just fortunate that I was going on to my turn and he didn't kill one of them, and I got the second action token, so at the end of my turn I'm regenning off the stop click. So, I ended up taking, I know I killed his Saint Walker, I know I killed his Baby Groot and his Madison, so that was like, I want to say that was 120 points, and I must have gotten a piece of equipment or something. I don't remember exactly how it totally went out, but he had Wong and Colossus left at the end. So
okay. Do you remember what you were going into top 8? Because that was the end of Swiss.
I was. So this would have been what, round 4?
5.
Or round 5. Okay, so that would have, after that I would have been. So I lost to you. I lost to Matt. So I was 2-2. This left me 3-2.
Okay.
So this left me 3-2. But I had 2 300-point wins, so I had a lot of points.
Yeah,
so I actually was. I was a little nervous. I wasn't going to make top 8, but I had saw some of the other games were lower points. That's even though they were winning. So
it was close all the way through. Like there was not a lot separating teams as far as like points wise.
Yeah, so I did end up making. Well, we didn't play another round after this, right? No, we did. We went to top 8, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did end up making top 8, which was a goal of mine. I kind of felt like this was like, our event, so I should probably actually show up and be good that day. So it was nice to make cut.
It's a good thought.
It was nice to make cut. Yeah, it was nice to make cut. So I and playing against people that are, there wasn't anybody I mean, everybody had a decent level of experience, or at least put like very reasonable modern teams on the board. There wasn't one team I saw that was getting played where I was like, well, that person's going to be dropping 2 rounds into this.
Right.
So, yeah. So I thought the level of competition was good. That's my point.
Yeah, the teams were good for sure. All right, that brings us then to top 8. So I played Joe Ruffing. Joe played a very, very cool Assassins build, and he actually got Raz to work. So he played Ra's al Ghul, Talon, Deadpool and Hitmonkey with the trick arrows, Myrn, Scott Porter with the Sinestro Core Ring, and then the Blackshirt Porter as well. So he did just really, really well with this team. I kind of really didn't even know how to approach it. I was able to, I think I won initiative, so I think I did. I know I took him to the bunker again, but everyone was has been so caught up on Myrn just allowing you to draw lines of fire when they're blocked that no one's really talking about how he also just stops you from modifying combat values just from being within his range, which is a base 4. So his strategy against my team was basically he just targeted Daredevil because he has the monster keyword through walls and elevation, and then the trick arrows went off, and he did a decent amount of damage to the Daredevils and to my Arachnite. I missed all the rollouts and all that, and then when he passed his turn, he was already halfway into the map. And then I didn't realize how much damage Arachnite took because I forgot I took the 1 click of damage just for using charge to blow up a wall for Amit's Tomb right away. So I was already on my stop click. And so I went in and tried to get rid of Myrn right away. But going in, I was a 3 damage instead of a 4 or 5, which I'm used to. So I couldn't have even destroyed Myrn with a flurry. So I totally just forgot about that, and I basically just handed him my 200-point tent pole. So he was not around for too much longer, but I was able to KO Deadpool and Hitmonkey with, I think, Vox after he popped out. So he took that game, but that was really cool to see somebody not only make Assassins work, but do it with Raz.
Yeah. So, I mean, his team, I tried to pay attention to his games just because that's a different team, right? We don't see it we haven't seen it very often, right? And let alone like winning. That team is very placement heavy, so like he like had to line stuff up like pretty much every turn, and he definitely protected Raish just because it was like, well, if he dies, his strat was gone, because that allowed him to really like, because your Daredevils are a lot of body block, and like they're just there to be annoying for 10 points. And by making him a target, he just got rid of your super senses and immediately proceeded to kill them. And that was big, because I mean they're like way better than a 10-point character. So him being able to just like take them out pretty much immediately, it was I think that was where like that was smart, because then he could just focus your Arachnite, right?
Right.
So that was pretty. I was like, oh, that was smart, because I thought he was just gonna make Arachnite the target right away, and he didn't. And I was like, huh. And then I watched some of that play out, and I was like, that's why. That makes much more sense now.
Yeah, the trick arrows got me again, and so those things are just ridiculous. And Deadpool and Hitmonkey is really cool. It's definitely a piece that Assassins needed to be competitive. So. Yeah, that's where my day ended, was after that match. But Joe's an awesome player, and really cool to see that team finally work. How was your top 8 game, Pete?
I just want to compliment Joe. He had a great weekend. I mean, he ended up top table in this, and I know we're going to get to that. And then he ended up doing really, really well in silver too, which we're going to get to. And I've played him 2 or 3 times now, and he is a very, very good player, very smart player. He goes into his games knowing what strategy he's trying to employ, and he knows what he wants to do to your team. So compliments to him for. I love to see the team. I can't believe, I told him, I said, I can't believe you made Raz work. That's the one thing. We've talked about Assassins so many times on this podcast. And we were all pretty much like, well, you kind of have to play Raz, but you kind of can't play Raz. So it was cool to see him do it. I played Dave Miles in kind of a similar matchup in my game in the top 8. He had Double Kong, Blackheart, both porters, and then he had the Ghost Rider, King of Hell Ghost Rider. with the Mercy Sword. It was a hyper aggressive game. He was across and was just came out of the gates hot and just decimated me. So I ended up losing pretty handily, 300 to 100. But so we got some chance to kind of talk during the top 8 because our game was over relatively quickly. And he's a nice guy. He was talking to me about some of the other games he's played and events he's gone to in different other games, not HeroClix, and how the tournaments did not feel like this. Like he's like, even though we're kind of relatively new group and new players, like we have game experience, but we've had so many bad experiences at other events. So again, compliments everybody that came for making people feel welcome and enjoy their day.
So important.
So hats off to Dave. I enjoyed my day. I ended up actually finishing overall 6th, one place ahead of somebody else on this podcast. We're not going to talk about that.
My record was still better. I don't know how you had it in 6th.
That's not what the little screenshot I have here says. So.
I believe it was strength of scoring. So I think that was why Pete ended up higher than you, because of how his opponents scored. Because that is
how much money did he give you to pay you off? Wins losses came before strength of schedule.
Listen, it was from whatever they were using.
I'm sorry. I thought they had about the same record. I'm sorry. I don't know how he wound up higher than I.
All that matters was our round 2 game, Pete. 230 to 10.
Is that it?
Yes.
I'm not sure that's all that mattered, but
100%.
I've got a screenshot of this. It's already been printed out and it's on my refrigerator, so I can look at it every day and remind myself of how great I am. So just those 2 places, though, my name and your name right underneath it.
That's great.
So, yeah.
All right, so after top 8, we went into top 4. So top 4 matches saw Joe Ruffing's Raz Al Ghul Assassin team take out Ryan Bookwood's Double Kong Monster team, and then Matt Pregnano's Prime Colossus Ruler team defeated Dave Miles' Double Kong Mystical team that just previously destroyed Pete. And then
According to Bookwood, he was not prepared for Assassin. So
nobody was prepared for Assassins. Nobody knew how to take on that team initially. So
except for Pregnano, which I can talk about the final match because I was active judging during that match and it was wild. I was not expecting it to go the way it went.
Yeah. So perfect. So final matchup was Matt Pregnano's Ruler team versus Joe Ruffing's Assassins team.
Can we just 1 second? We give Bookwood a lot of hell because he's a local player. But yeah, he played. It's now his monster team because we had a practice night on Monday night and he brought something and my team came across and he was down 150 points turn 3. And he was a little negative the rest of the night. So he's like, "Well, I just stole your team then," and I'm like, "It's not my team, man. I'm sure I stole it from somebody else somewhere. Like it's not. At some points, HeroClix isn't super original when you get to meta play.
Yeah,
but he did great with it, man. That's awesome. I was really hoping he'd bring Black Lantern Superman, but he
knows better at this point. He knows better at this point.
He decided to go against the love of his life, and he had a great day. So I was happy to see.
Yeah, he did good. Like he placed really well. I mean, he obviously I didn't get to watch too many of his games, but he gave it his best shot against Assassins. He just didn't. It was again Assassins. I think is unfamiliar, so people don't always know how to handle it. They're like, "Huh? It does what now?" And they're like, "Yeah." So, but top table for that game. First turn, Matt literally just ran Colossus up against it. So they were in, what was it? It was an indoor map. I can't remember, but it was a paper map. So I can't remember what it was. I don't think it wasn't the courtroom. It was something else, but it was an indoor map.
Apartment.
It might have been. I just can't remember. So all I remember was that so Joe passed because he got first. He was first player. I believe, and then so he passed, and then Matt just ran his Colossus all the way up basically because Joe made Kong the target, and for me, I thought, oh well, he was going to make Colossus the target because he'll just shoot through Colossus, and he didn't. He made Kong the target. And so Colossus, he ran him all the way up there, and he had the strategy where he he played the mesh fence, and then he had the motorcycle on reflexes. So I mean, either way, he's a 22 defense without any perplexes. So he just ran him up there and based Deadpool Hitmonkey, and I think something else. Was it his Porter? I think it was his black shirt Porter, and so I think that was the deciding factor because then Joe like was trying to figure out how to like maneuver around him, and he just missed. Like he tried to attack him a couple times because he based him, and he just missed honestly. And that was like the big deciding factor. I think was his initial initiative was just going up there, and then Colossus just started. Yeah, he immediately proceeded to just blow through Talon. I mean, he one shot. I think he one shot Talon or something. It was close. It was one. It was either one. It was either that or really close.
It looks like they played on Bloodstone Maze. Does that sound right?
Oh yeah. Sorry, it was the Bloodstone Maze. You're right. Yes, because there was all the blocking. Yep. But yeah, it was that was the big deciding factor. There was some back and forth, and I don't know if he damaged Colossus at all though. Yeah, like he's once Matt started moving up the other pieces, like Joe started dealing with them too. But yeah, I don't think he ever got Colossus off top click. So I was really I was surprised that he did not make Colossus the target initially. For their game because basically Matt just kept calling back actually and sent up the rest of his team to help Colossus and help maneuver and do damage.
Yeah, which is smart then.
Yeah, so he couldn't switch the target because he couldn't get in line on him to hit him. So, and there was a couple times where the pulse wave stuff came up with Porter. Where he wanted to pulse wave with Porter, but then he didn't have any of his rerolls, and I think Porter just flat out missed with his pulse wave. Okay. So that was pretty big because he was bunched up on the one side because I think Matt played the big 3x3 elevated on one of the sides. So one of them did, and it was in the corner. So it was your first row for your starting area, and then one of them placed the elevated there. So everything was just kind of bunched up, and they were having a hard, like it was just really clumped up in there, and so I think that was the biggest deal was all the placement because that assassin team is very placement heavy, is trying to like keep people together and being able to shoot people with like so you can see with Mern and everything. Like I know Mern makes it easier, but he still definitely struggled to like try to keep moving everyone around so he could get a shot on Colossus and also like be able to like change his stats, but him being just a 20 printed, I think was a struggle. Because then he couldn't make use of Deadpool Hitmonkey's stat mod, like because they can mod their attack and damage if they've hit the first time. But him basing him, he couldn't get the double range attack off because they can't shoot from the hip. So they shoot their characters and hindering, but with him basing him and Porter, he had a tough time. So. It was a tight match all the way to the end. I mean, he started to get the edge once. I think because he took out Talon was the first thing out, and then he just started kind of picking things off after that. Because like I said, Joe I think the thing is he just got thrown off by Colossus just going up in there and basing a part of his team. So. That was definitely not what I thought was going to happen when I saw him walk over there because I thought Colossus was the target, and then I come to realize that Kong was, and I was like, oh. I thought I was waiting for him to just start clicking Colossus down, and that be the end of it.
See, I still think that was probably the right call though, because not having Kong in your face, and if he does, being able to take him out is probably a bigger deal. Whereas you would think Colossus is kind of, I guess he had the motorcycle on. Does that let him ignore characters? So it was probably harder to like keep him in anywhere.
Mm-hmm. It was hard to tie him down, and I don't think he used the stop sign either from Porter. I don't remember. Did he have the?
He had rings. He had the yellow. So yeah, he probably.
That's what I thought. So yeah, and I don't think he dropped the stop sign. I don't remember him dropping the stop sign. So that might have helped because then he would shut down Colossus' improved movement.
Right.
So yeah, it was a wild game to watch. Like it was cool to see two teams that were not like completely standard from what I was kind of expecting for modern 300.
Not
So
even relevant 2 weeks ago.
No, so it was very cool to watch. It was a good game, and they both played. They had both a heck of a day. So it was. I mean, hats off to both of them on that one. So
For sure. And yeah, congrats to Matt, the 2024 ClixMania undisputed champion. What were you guys' overall thoughts, though, just on Joe's assassin team?
He made Roz work.
And I think that he just showed that pretty much if you're going to make Assassin work, it has to be that, because this team seems so streamlined that there really was nowhere to work any other characters in. So you got all the figures that are worth playing. You got the Deadpool and Hitmonkey. You got Roz. You got Talon, Porter, obviously.
yeah,
And then
the double porters really like shore up their weaknesses because like they need the TK. You know, they need like the +1 attack is always good. The defense bump is good, and for him it works because they're pretty much all bunched up most of the time anyway. So
There's only one figure that has Assassin that I think honestly could potentially make the team, even though he's a lot of points. That's Deadpool and Bob. I still think that figure has a chance, even post rotation. Probably more so.
Without a
with the amount of
motorcycle or
reach he
hell
has.
cycle?
Well, he already has running shot. He doesn't need it. So you TK. You don't even need TK. You running shot 5, 7. He has a 13 square reach by himself. And Mern, you ignore everything. So
Who would you take off?
Yeah.
You'd replace Deadpool and Hitmonkey for that?
I don't. It'd be a totally different strategy with that, because you'd.
I was gonna
Than
say
what he
I
had.
would.
It
I
was
would not want to swap
so
off.
streamlined. Yeah, I don't know what you would do.
Yeah.
And the only things that are leaving
I mean,
after rotation are the porters.
The Deadpool and Bob is you'd use the trick arrows. I think it gets better, but for what is out right now, I think it's perfect. I think the newer trick arrows.
Well,
I think the only-
he had the trick
for
arrows on Deadpool and
Deadpool.
Hitmonkey already,
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I'm talking about the newer trick arrows that are going to be coming out.
which, yeah, you
Oh,
can just
yeah,
add
Bob
them.
is-
You just bring them all
Yeah, you
and pick what you want.
Yeah.
So it gets better.
Energy. But it's more of the energy explosion that's able to trigger, extra stuff.
I think the only thing that you're losing that could make Assassin is Deathstroke. That's it. That's the only figure that I see that we're losing. That I
is-
think.
He's kind of died off, I think.
No, I know. I just think
Lose
he's
the
still.
Porter too.
I just think he's still very good. Is what I mean. That's the only. I was just trying to point out something that I thought was like worthwhile.
Oh, yeah.
That could see play.
I mean, I know he got Roz to work. I don't think Roz actually was able to. Did he win because of the extra target tokens, or was he still able to take out opponents?
I think it was that.
I remembered he scored 295 points against me, and I still had Vox on the map and one or two other pieces. So I think he got another, at least. I'm trying to remember what he got now. He got a lot of extra points.
The biggest.
The amount of extra points though was that the reason why he was winning? Is what that's
Well, no, the reason that he was winning is because I put up my 200-point tent pole right in his face that was already half dead.
for sure.
The
But
biggest
that's
thing.
the only person that I would personally take off would be Roz, because I'm not sure if that team actually does need Roz to function.
I think the biggest thing with Raish was that he was able to keep switching the target once he eliminated something.
It's huge.
And make it easier to keep taking things out. That was what Raish allowed him to do. That allowed him to mop up teams.
Yeah.
Like when you can go from, like I think that's how he killed both your Daredevils right away. And I saw him nuke Kongs with it. Like he would just, all right, that Kong is dead, and now I'm switching the target to something else. And that was where I think it came into play more than the points. I didn't keep an eye on the points like that detailed, where it was like, oh, the extra like 25 points per character. It was more
stuff with talent.
That was where it came into play. I think more than the extra victory points.
Deadpool and Hitmonkey will surprise you. They are really good.
Oh yeah, for 50 points.
Yeah, no, I'm not them, Deadpool, Hitmonkey, and Deadpool and Bob, I think, are the two best assassin pieces, probably from Deadpool Weapon X. I know Deadpool and Bob people are just scoffing at, but
Me included.
I think he's
He's a lot of
Yeah.
there are a lot of points at 80, right?
Off
That's I think where people are a little turned off.
I want to know
I really,
when porters leave if
I
they
get it.
can stay relevant.
well, I think
Yeah.
I think there's options. Masters of
Well,
Time is
if
still
we have
coming.
that ring coming out, the ring of telekinesis.
Mhm.
Right.
And
So
and
we
you
can
have
get that. Yeah, it's gonna be very
and
dependent though.
and you do have Atlas Bear as like if you need like a taxi, like for his team that would like I would think be good because then you can still keep everyone together, like because he was obviously using Mern to like shut down the map.
Actually,
So,
yeah, that's
I
true.
mean-
With the way that I saw him line up his pieces and kind of keep them together, that's true. I think she
Yeah.
actually could see it.
Passenger
Yeah.
5, she's got prob out wit. I mean, and flight with sidestep. I don't think that's a bad call out. But yeah, you got to see where things fall post rotation. Like the porters losing the porter, that's gonna be a big ripple effect.
Yeah.
Losing the Porters is going to affect a lot of teams. It's not just going to be that one. I mean,
Well, the one thing with losing porters though is people think that losing porters means that theme isn't as important, and I think that that's not true at all. I still think theme is just as important, especially on small maps, with the amount of full map reach with stuff.
Yeah, going
you
first.
you going first is so. Were you guys able to keep that tally of
No.
what the win loss record was for people that went?
No, I didn't keep that. I should have, but it was I didn't.
Your record going first, Ryan and Pete.
I chose map every time because I don't want to get alphaed in one turn, so I always went to Major Brock's bunker. Yeah, every time.
I think we have a question about that, but yeah, that's exactly what my answer is. That's Morlock tunnels.
But like
you can't survive without that map.
I mean, the main issue though is Kong over everything. Blackheart Kong, double Kong. Like that's what you have to stay safe from. Otherwise, they're in your back row, quaking your whole team.
Yeah, and that's why with small maps only, they really need to make that into where it's only his 5 range. Being able to jump that up 8 squares, which puts Kong on squares 11, 12?
Yeah, but that
10, 11?
But that's gonna change a lot post rotation because you're not gonna be able to manipulate his range near it. Like otherwise, you're going to pay a lot more points for it, right? Because now you could.
Well, I mean, still no, because you still get Chthon on him.
Yes,
to get that 6 range.
But you're not able.
There's plenty of easy shields. I mean, yeah, there's.
Well, yeah, but it's off theme, right? You're not having MOE where you can swap into Inquisitor and then he's got shield
and Porter's copying.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And the Porter, so
I'll be honest with you. I didn't need to swap into MOE to do that.
Yeah.
If you have Sinestro on the one porter and you have the other porter, you just perplex up Kong's speed.
But you won't have,
and then you Chthon on Blackheart. So
yeah, but you won't have that either. So you won't have the +3 as easily because you won't have the porters for that.
I guess my thing is I think there's probably, I kind of agree with Miles. There's other ways of doing it. You just have to be a little more creative.
But that's what I'm waiting for, is to see how much that changes, because those other things might be a lot easier to kill or don't provide you with enough offense. Like you have Madison, right? And she's hard to kill, but she's also not as offensively stacked as Porter is. You don't have a 25-point figure.
More too about it being free. Like that's what's extremely rough, is being free. Because you can free place Kong and you can get the cheap leadership, and now both Kongs are attacking twice, depending on your build, because you didn't use that 4th action. Well, that's where it's rough. It's free on small maps. When it's big maps, you notice that it was it's extremely good, but it's not as top tier. Even though
I get that. I just saw Blackheart die a lot. Like he was a trade of points very fast, and
that's the job. He gets Kong into place and he dies.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not as sold on him being like, yes, he's very good. In modern specifically, I just don't know if he's like uber broken. So like I wouldn't have a problem with the change of him just going to I would honestly just have his trait changed to 5 squares, not even his printed range. Just make it 5 squares. That's all you get.
It's after rotation, you're losing a lot of other figures that have full map reach. Prime Spider-Man, Arachnite.
Yeah, so I just need to see how things shake out, I guess, and go from there.
Yeah,
I think you're going to deal with a year of Blackheart and Kong. And so even if they do get rid of the porters, you'll still be able to cheese one Kong across the board. So you may not be killing something, first time you can attack, but there's pieces that are not now going to see play. Like that Madison is just Kong bait, and I love her, the rare one.
Yeah.
But she's dead. Quake once dead. Replace her because you're all
No,
right there.
No,
it
she.
depends on where your placement is.
Yeah, she
It
poofs
depends on where your
before.
placement is.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I've come across the board and I've quaked her to death the first time, and you place her, like it has to be next to somebody with mystical, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where are you getting
Yeah.
away from the other Kong when they're coming in for that next attack?
I mean, that's all. I don't know. Like that's one of those where I would at least try to leave somebody far enough away that you're having to commit all the way so you can't kill her. But that's just me.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Yeah, that's all placement dependent
Yeah.
on how a player places.
that's how
yeah.
it played out the 2 times that I saw her. Was that you just couldn't
Yeah.
get her out of the second follow-up attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I've taken away 2 perplexes on your team. But that's what, that's part of it is the Alpha Strike's always played heavily in meta play. There was even
No,
on
that's
big
why
maps,
it's
that's
really
when
important.
people would sit and find the team to get across the board in one turn and attack you. So,
Or at least have the potential, right?
If you're gonna go untheme, your best bet is gonna have traffic barrel. So and bunker. You have those 2 things, and you can
or the stone maze. You have the barrel and the stone maze placing, and then getting the Kongs up there is a lot harder.
I think the map. I mean, the traffic barrel is what it is, and it's a great 5 points. Even though I hate the piece, that map is huge. Like that map, even without the traffic barrel, by just putting certain blocking in places, constricts colossals a lot. Like there's 2 hallways where you have to essentially blow out the hallway.
Yeah,
so you're used in action to do that.
And that's just comes down to like player knowledge and go, okay, well, if I face a Kong, I have to know how to play around them, where you have to restrict their movement, so then you can clip one before you have to deal with both at the same time, right?
Right. Exactly.
And then what do you guys think on Prime Colossus? Do you think he's going to stick around?
Oh, I don't see why not.
Oh yeah,
like he's a stat stick for
smaller
80
map
points.
makes him that much better.
Overall, he had a pretty
that
good
was the
showing
one-
this weekend.
That was the one thing that people were complaining about is that he's good, but how is he going to be getting across these big maps? Well, that one complaint and the one thing that people were worried about is no longer an issue with him.
Yeah.
No,
And
and
that motorcycle is just great on him because you get the 1 to speed and the free 1 move, which is essentially what the charge senses is. And so now you pretty much go, do I want to ignore characters with a free move and get a 22 defense?
Yep.
Or do I want super senses?
Yeah.
And so you can play both of those play the exact same. And it's nice that you can change at the beginning of the game. So you can either give them an extra rollout or you can give them, based off of other people, you can give them that 22 defense up close.
Right.
No, I don't think he's going anywhere. You're 1 TK and a motorcycle from being in somebody's back line.
Yeah, and that's huge. So I mean, I don't and
Go ahead.
His ability to chew through stop clicks or just like dish out damage for like, yes, you have to hit and stuff like that, but it's that caught so many people off guard on Saturday of like, oh, I'm just taking this damage. You can reduce -2 if you have impervious, but you're not getting your rollout. So you're just gonna eat 3.
Yes, what you're doing now is you're looking at the last prime that we had, which is one of your favorite pieces, Camo, and you give him a health cycle. That's 125 points, which is 30 points more than Colossus with a cycle. So the reason they play differently, but they play the same at the same point. A 95 point temp pool that is less than pretty much, I guess, a third of your team because you're also throwing on the traffic barrel. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So you have 200 points to build around with him. It's nuts.
Yeah,
with how good he is at 80 points.
Gonna keep doing the traffic barrel thing tonight, huh? Okay. All right.
Every night. You need a barrel leave.
Yeah. You just found your start
leave.
saving 5 points on your builds to throw it on there, Pete.
I can't. I already hate myself enough. I can't do that.
Just look at yourself as a comic book fan and say you need traffic barrel because you're a Plastic Man fan, and just think of it's just Plastic Man on every team.
I'll be honest with you. Just barrel leave, Pete.
Oh God.
Yep.
Even with
Barely.
first turn immunity, you're almost considering sometimes basically still just throwing Colossus across the board and being like, okay, hit him, right?
Or at least try.
Yeah, because the next turn he's going to eat something on your team. So I think he's going to stay around for a while, and
that's why I still think.
Yeah, at 95 points, because you still have the points for 2 Kongs and a Blackheart.
Mm-hmm.
If you
so
want,
you can throw Colossus in their face to where they have to deal with them, and then they know that they have 2 Kongs coming at them.
It sounds pretty strong to me.
So, being that we're thinking that 2 Kongs and getting across the board's a thing, and that Prime Colossus is a thing, are we still really worried about IVs?
I think that is gone.
They're still good, but
they have to go first to win.
They do.
Now
have to
that
go.
it's small maps only, that's what makes it. They're a 50-50 shot team now.
Yeah, unless you go theme, right? You could change and go theme with Ivies, and you might up your chances a little bit more, right? Because the team that won was on theme, so it's harder to go first and pick at least for sure.
All you gotta do is you just swap that for a scientist, Brainiac for that leadership and the outwit and all that, and then it's theme. Like it's that easy to swap that theme, the exact same team.
So
you lose Iron Spider, sure, but you have Brainiac. But even with that, it's a 50-50 shot to go first. Realistically, and if they are made to go, if they're made to go second, that hurts.
But do we think they might get better post rotation too? Because with the porters leaving, that kind of changes the math a lot too, right? Because I mean,
the main thing is that so many people are playing Kongs, and they just get smashed by Kongs.
Oh, they do. Oh, yeah. Because I mean, what is it? Cause,
and that's the entire problem right there. Is that it's gonna be the same thing post rotation, except now they lost Red Ring, so they can't do penetrating poison. And if they don't go first, they're gonna lose to Kongs. That's why IVs are good. They're still good, but they're very dependent on going first.
Yeah, because
go first, they're losing more than just Kong.
Oh yeah,
there's multiple teams that beat them with an alpha.
Oh yeah, I mean especially if you spread damage, because Harley does say that they only take the max of 2 because they're mostly adjacent to each other, right? But you have multiple. If you have multiple attacks where you can spread damage with either like a Quake or an EE or something, I mean they'll get
Well, you have trick arrows, for instance. If you do trick arrows, you're able to they're all getting hit. Like let's say for instance you have like an energy explosion figure, they all take 2. Boom, it's a max 2. And then you drop the big arrow, they all take 2, they're all dead. They're only 4 clicks long. So one attack kills, one action kills them.
Oh, I get it. That's the thing I'm thinking about is just how do they can they still perform? I think they can still perform. I just don't think they're not
I just don't think they have the defense. They don't have the defense to go second.
Yeah.
They're just straight offense. So it's win map or lose. It's pretty much if you don't win map, you might lose.
I definitely felt like they were a glass cannon team. Either they won, then they got to go, and they wailed on you, or they got wailed on. That's how it felt, at least in my head.
Well, it's crazy because this is the second event now where Ivy hasn't been shown.
We had one.
She was shown as a big terror, and then no one plays her. And now, probably at Worlds, you're going to see her go crazy.
Well, the thing is,
we had one in silver.
They have now made the announcement, though, that Gen Con and Worlds and everything going forward, obviously, then for Modern is always going to be small maps, and people are now practicing for those events. And I think that Ivies are just so much of a risk that there's no point in playing them to even practice them. And so the team itself is probably not going to show up anymore, which is great.
Or at least not as much, right?
I still think we're going to get a plant marker team. I think
I'm
we're
fine
going to see plenty of
as long
teams.
as there's only one of her on the team.
No, PJ's plays 2 of them, and I expect him still to play 2 with the man thing. And there's enough defense to go second, but at the same time, it's still I don't know if their defense is good enough to get past Kongs, even with man thing.
That's fair.
And then now with Colossus, I mean, him with the motorcycle is he's now the new big bad. I mean, Prime Spider-Man is still a thing right now, but once Prime Spider-Man goes, I mean, Colossus it's going to be hard to not play Colossus as an attacking Prime.
Right.
Especially with him theming with Kong.
Oh yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't. I mean, that's totally understandable. I mean, to me, that fits right there.
And I love the fact that there's oversaturation of this prime to where he's now affordable. He's almost the price of like an Iconics.
Right.
So he's not. I don't see him getting up to a Prime Spider-Man price of 120 because there's just so many of them out there.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any Prime Spider-Mans this weekend on Saturday?
There was one. Yeah, there was one only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was one. I played him first round.
Gotcha.
Oh.
All right. Well, Sunday was our 400 silver 2v2 tag team turmoil.
Did we want to?
Oh, damn it, Dan.
How is this my fault when you wanted to go over rulings?
Well, it's not time for the rulings yet.
Oh well, excuse me. It wasn't. Was it in the? Was it in? No, it wasn't in the prep section. So.
Daniel, we talked about this.
We did. Even Pete knows, and Pete doesn't pay attention to shit.
Yeah, we talked about it in the green room.
Oh well, I wasn't in there for that. Y'all had your little get together.
So Sunday was our 400 silver 2v2 tag team turmoil match.
Nothing wrong with silver. Nothing wrong with silver at all.
We had 12 people for Sunday's event, so 6 teams of 2. We just ran 3 rounds of Swiss and then cut to top 4. So if you look at the builds, we ran an updated bench ban list that changed what was legal, what was not legal for the event, just compared to an official Silver Age event. So kind of like a test run for what Silver could look like after Worlds when rotation goes live. I will say I had a lot more fun with the Silver event than the last one in May. Silver kind of still feels like it's in its infancy, I feel like. And so with a little more time, it really should continue to improve. But the problem we ran into with quite a few players who played on Saturday is they just don't have, there were a lot of new players, so they just don't have a lot of silver pieces to compete. But they did want to next year just because they'll have a lot more stuff. What they have now is going to rotate into silver after Worlds. So the full format that we did was for this event, 400 silver theme Ultra Highlander. All elements are considered unique during force construction, and you can't share any elements with your partner. So for the theme part, you also had to use a different theme for the build than your partner. So the teams were myself and Oliver. I played Monster, and Oliver played a Ruler team. Pete and Dalton, they teamed up. Pete, you played Warrior, and Dalton played Celebrity. Then Joe Ruffing and Joel Wyatt teamed up. Joe played a Celebrity team, and Joel played a Warrior team. Mike Donick and Tim Kolasic. Mike played a Monster team. Tim played a Mystical team. Matt Vanderloop and Anthony Boyakin. Matt played Defenders. Anthony played Avengers. And then we had Charles Miller and Chris McGuire. Charles played Scientist, and Chris played the Avengers. So
I will tip the hat to the winning duo is that they meta-guessed really well. So I was like, wow, that was like, cause watching it basically a mirror match at the for the finals was wild. So like they meta-guessed pretty well, at least for the event itself.
The Warrior and Celebrity show off or face off.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for ruining all of the hype and just fast forwarding right to the end, Dan.
Oh, well.
You're not being very nice right now, Rob.
I expect nothing less from him, so it's totally fine.
All right. So round 1, I played Joe's Celebrity team. It was Agnes Harkness was the main part of it, and just had like long shot and some Spider-Man family stuff. And we pretty much, I won map and went to Assassin's Alley, just again thinking that the barrel could kind of stop people from getting around. And those big maps, sometimes it's really just hard to make that first move. So we kind of just spent the entire game inching really slowly. And so I was able to grab 15 points from Marvella a little earlier or later in the game. And then I think he was able to get a pulse wave off, and that was really about it. So I just won that one 15-0. Pretty slow game overall. What about you, Pete, for your first round 1 game?
Well, I played a Warriors team, and I had some help building my team. Shout out to Aaron Morgan and the mayor. I played full point Sky Tyrant with the all black Necro Sword, Death Metal Wonder Woman, so when I do something terminally stupid, I can back out of it. With the golden armor, Black Leopard with Remaker and Nightbringer, Pegasus Captain America with Skybreaker, Grand Prize APOC with a Soul Sword, well, with a Sword Bearer, and then Genesis with a Sword Bearer, and then my boy Ferdinand from Wonder Woman 80 with the Spin Ring. So I played one of our local guys, Anthony, who was actually one of the players that we started playing against when we first started playing. And Anthony will kind of come and go to events. He shows up for bigger events, but he's got some work stuff to keep him away. But it was nice to see Anthony again. He had an Avengers team. He had a Giant Man, Colossal at 200 points, Party Thor at 50, Black Widow at 50, and then Doctor Strange at 50, and the WWE ring. And of course, one of my first questions was, can I quake this WWE ring for 5 quick points? And it turns out you cannot. He also had the Black Symbiote, Wonder Woman's bracelets, and the Time Gem. So he was trying to bait you into an attack to bring Giant Man across. His 200-point line, he has retail, and then he gets it later on. The problem was that I was all so bunched up that I came out and hit his Party Thor twice with the Sky Tyrant, and then flew back to get all of my rollouts. And he brought his Giant Man across, and so it was just kind of a matter of basically my whole team then taking turns attacking Giant Man, and killing Party Thor. So he was Giant Man went down pretty quick against that much offense that close.
Did you say he was playing him at 200 points?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was an interesting team. I mean, I understood what he was trying to do. He couldn't hit against the rollouts because all of his attacks were close attacks. So about halfway through the game, suddenly he was like, well, there's no point in doing this. And his Doctor Strange, he had the Smoke Cloud place Doctor Strange, actually started killing some things, because then you just don't get your blades rollouts. So I think it was I ended up scoring pretty well. I didn't clear his team. I know I got his Giant Man and his Party Thor, so I think I got 250 out of it. And then I'm not sure what Dalton did, honestly. Dalton played great. Let me just say that. Dalton, you were a great partner. Thanks for coming down and hanging out. And you had a huge run, man. Like, we had a really, really nice run in Silver. So.
All right. I totally forgot to read my team. So I played Monster. I went with Prime Doppelganger with the Blood Axe, and then also put Cathan on him. And then the Black Lantern, Hal Jordan with the Green Lantern ring. And I got to borrow a King Deadpool and Elsa Bloodstone from Dan with the Trick Arrows, who I definitely should have read a little bit more earlier going into the event. And then Sky Tyrant and the All Black Necro Sword. Then Batman, the Black Lantern with the motorcycle, and Venom Magneto, Wonder Woman 80 Commissioner with the Spin Ring, the Colossal Carnage, who I basically forgot was on my team the entire game, or day, and then a Legacy Daredevil. And all of that was $395. Pete?
Oh, man. Did you actually get the traffic barrel on this one, or did you have too many modern points?
Oh no, he did. He got it on there.
Well, thank God, I was worried you didn't. I was worried you didn't do it. So.
Wait, so where?
You always filled with 195 modern points.
Yes.
Wait, so Pete, did you want to go over the fun story about how he bought a brick for this event?
Yeah. We could tell that now. So, Silver, I was really expecting me to be the one person from this podcast and not be prepared for Silver. So, Dalton and Dan, we had a ClixMania over the night before. Dalton came into town because he lives out of town, and Dan got to hang out. So, he got to hang out with me and the missus, and we ordered some food. And I had a nice night of just, hanging out in the backyard and talking. So, I got up the next day pretty early, and I told him I had to dig through all these boxes to find my team. So, we find everything. I double and triple check it, and I pack the case up, and we head over to the store. And so Redmond gets to the store. He forgot something that Dalton asked to borrow from him. And then he must have forgotten a couple of other things. So he leaves to drive across town to get home. And then all of a sudden I get a text that says, "Do you have a Jeff the Land Shark?" And well, no, not here with me. And then I'm talking to Matt Looper, who's another local guy. And him and I live literally 5 minutes from the store. And Redmond lives a little farther than that. So I text Redmond back, "Do you want me or Matt to go get Jeff the Land Shark from our houses while you're on your way back?" And nothing. So he shows back up, and all of a sudden he's walking into the play area with a brick of Weapon X. Deadpool Weapon X. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I bought a brick because I need a common so somebody can have it for their team.
No, I needed it for my team, but yeah.
I felt really bad because he borrowed Deadpool and Elsa from me, so I should have just included Jeff as like, well, duh, they pop it out at the beginning of the game.
Well, I had
so
like 20 of them. I should have remembered. I had 1,000 other things going through my mind.
Well, that was the thing though, was that you were borrowing this piece from me. It's like the one time the Clix Daddy doesn't have a Hero Clicks piece that I actually have to lend to him.
And it's great too for me because Redmond will occasionally text me to remind me of like what we're playing on Monday, or tell me like what piece that I need to bring him or what map like 3 times, and I'm like, I got it, man. Like you told me. So for him to be the one that had to run home once and then buy a brick to get a comment, it was pretty great. But kudos to you for being that bold to do it. You did get your Jeff.
I did get my Jeff.
Yeah.
That's the real question.
What's that? What'd you say, Miles?
How many Jeffs did you actually get from the brick? How many Jeffs?
Oh, I don't even know. I'll ever open the rest of the brick after I was done. I just needed that Jeff, and then we went and played. I still got to go back and open it all. I think there was a zombie Wolverine in there and Prime Rogue, I think.
Yeah, I remember those two you said, yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone out there in ClixLand, when I tell you that this guy hobbies hard, like he's looking for a common piece for a tournament, he's slapping a brick on the table to find it.
Seemed like the way to go, but I got him, and he worked really well. So I'm actually probably going to do something with them eventually later, because it was actually a pretty fun piece to play once I started using them a little bit more. We ran a practice game the night before, and I didn't have the piece yet, so I just kind of played without them, which is why I messed up a bunch earlier in the day. But yeah, my round 2, I played Anthony's Avengers after Pete did, and I was just able to hit a pretty heavy offense on him with my team because it's pretty aggressive. So that one I won also. And then last round in Swiss was round 3. Pete, what did you do for round 3?
Did we go through round 2? I didn't talk about my round 2 yet. Dalton and I played
sorry.
Mike Donich and Tim Kolosik. I played Mike. Mike had a cool Monsters team, really aggressive team, and I have to say that honestly, I think Mike probably should have won the game, but he just went through this phase where like he just wasn't. The rollouts were just unbelievable. Death Metal Wonder Woman went on a heater the whole day, where she was just standing in with 3 or 4 people attacking her per turn and just hitting the blades rollouts constantly. So like, I got to the point where I was really literally running Apocalypse back just to keep him on the board so I could keep my blades rollouts and my super senses going.
I was gonna say that, or it was that or the super senses. Like Wonder Woman was just like, you can't touch me, basically the whole time.
And I saved the revive for her every time because it just was like one of those weird days where it's like, well, she's just here to play, so I'm just gonna keep her on the board. And her stop click does some interesting things. So like if you miss her, she's handing out damage. And I've only got that to work like a handful of times. But so with the golden armor, essentially you hit her once and she takes 1 damage. So then you get prob on her, and you still have super senses, and you still have the blades roll out on the team. So she had a great day. So that was a very, very fun game. I've played Mike a handful of times, and we always have really fun games, back and forth games. I mean, there was times where his Wendigo was attacking Death Metal Wonder Woman like 4 times a turn and just not hitting her. It was wild. So great game. So, and then Dalton played. I think we actually. Yeah, because we had the hot swap thing come in twice, so I can talk about Tim's team here in a bit. So,
okay, that moves on to round 3 then, right?
Yes.
So then, round 3, I played Mike's monster team that Pete was just talking about, and he had some rough luck. We actually, all of our teams, or all of our pieces, our attack rolls were pretty low and bad. The difference was really the pizza that Jeff gave all of my pieces, and I was able to prob either my hits or his hits that didn't hit or did hit on his end. And so that really was just a huge difference maker, was just the slices of pizza nonstop coming. And he tried to open up with a Wendigo hypersonic with a elevated train, I think it was, and ended up crit missing on the attack after a prob and didn't have a prob on it. So that hurt him, and then I was able to come in with Sky Tyrant and Doppelganger. That Wendigo is really good with all the stop clicks and everything. He's really cool. But it just was too much offense on him. And then I was able. He had I think 4 pieces together. He had a Captain Venom, Captain Carnage, Venom, Magneto, and a Absolute Carnage, I think, all together. And so I was able to. This was finally the first thing that Elsa and Deadpool did in the day, and that was a running shot with trick arrows or energy explosion to kind of start warming them up. So after that, I started using them a little bit more. But yeah, the pizza from Jeff was the game changer in this one for sure. What about you, Pete?
I played Joe Ruffing's celebrity team, and he correctly stated a couple of times. I heard him state it before the game that, she's my most expensive piece on my team. Agatha is at 100 points, but she's also bait. And I'm a sucker for bait. So he went first, and we went to the Weapon X lab from the new Play at Home kit. And my eyes got so wide when he put that piece out there.
Oh man, you were foaming at the mouth. I saw that initial move and I was just like, oh, that's gonna be bad.
I had actually placed my Sky Tyrant and placed my Black Leopard because the strategy was simple. Just the bird brings the leopard, drops the leopard off, and now all of a sudden he's swinging 12 on a 17 or 12 or 13 on a 17. And so I'm thinking, I'm not going to kill this piece. I'm going to take 2 Mystics, but I can get back to my back line and heal, which is what I was doing with Ferdinand. But I'm going to nerf this team, like before this Ruin Marker comes into play. So I placed my pieces, and I said, all right, 13 on a 17. And he's like, you can't see me with Black Leopard with how you placed. And it wasn't anything he did. It was me not looking at the map. It was me getting too aggressive. And I'm not one of those person that'll be like, oh, well, I need to take the whole turn back because I had set up my turn to do that. And so essentially I was rolling like a 13 on a 23 defense because he perplexed up. And I said, well, this is going to go really well, or my game's going to be really quick today.
I think all you needed was just a different, like, where you placed Leopard, because you could have got line of fire because she was on elevated, so you could have been able to see her.
What I was trying to do when I placed him, how I placed him, was I was trying to bring down the combat values of the rest of his team.
Yeah.
In case I missed like one of my 2 attacks with Tyrant, and he had to sit there through the next attack. And I ended up just missing them both. And then basically he just... he's such a smart player. He's such a good player. He then took out Sky Tyrant, Black Leopard, and I had to bring the rest of my team across, and he just kind of made their way through him with Party Thor. So I got my brains beat in that game, and I had no one to blame but myself for just getting that aggressive. I'll err on the side of aggression most of the time, but that was complete, like, miscalculation. And that's what a lot of the losses come down to at the higher levels of play, is that one bad turn.
Well, he did ruin you, so it wasn't like you that's a big, like, you were well within the radius, like, the whole time, and that's how he picked you apart. It wasn't just like, it wasn't as simple as you made it.
Yeah, that's what happens when you play really good players, though. You make that mistake and they're just going to take advantage of it, which is what they should do. So he both him and Joel beat Dalton and I pretty handily that round. So that would take us then to round 4.
And yeah, this is where the top 4 was. And then one thing we did for the 2v2 was what we called the hot tag. So usually throughout the entire event of a 2v2 or 3v3, whatever, you're always A's play A, B plays B, player C plays player C. But if you were playing a team that you played in Swiss and Top Cut, you played the other teammate, which I thought was actually a really cool little twist, and I think it came out really good. What did you guys think about that?
Too, then I think it came out good because you would usually have a strategy then if you know who you're playing again from your Swiss rounds, right?
Right.
Versus I think this time you're like, oh, got to play the partner. Well, okay, like, what am I dealing with? You can't formulate a better strategy because you have experience against the team, and going into your Top Cut match, you're like, oh, well. So I think that's a really good way to kind of equalize the ability of you playing a team, right?
Yeah, and it keeps it fresh and just changes it up a little bit, keeps it a little more exciting.
I like it a lot because it's if you have a bad matchup one round, then maybe your partner has a better one.
Right.
And it at least keeps it moving. And plus it's just better. I find it more fun generally to play other people. Part of the enjoyment to the game to me is, sitting down and talking to the guy across from me during the game. So, or person across from me, I guess I should say. So, that's I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great addition, honestly.
I played Joel's Warrior team, who was Joe's partner. So that one, I was able to pull that win off. That one was on stream. We had a really good game just in the middle of Bloodstone Maze. Lots of just crazy rolls, hits and misses, and moves. So that was actually a really cool one. Probably my favorite one of the whole day. And then Joe was able to score more points off Oliver, so they ended up taking us out in top 4. How did the rest of the event go for you, Pete?
So Dalton and I played the hot tag. Dalton played Mike Donick's monster team, which we talked about, and I played Tim Kolasik's team. Tim's a great guy. I played Tim a handful of times. I always enjoyed games against him. He played Mystical. He had Arachnite, Wong, the 75.1, Weapon Hex, Felix Faust, Scarlet Witch from Avengers Forever, the 50.1. He had Soul Sword, Bucky's Arm, Soul Gem, Power Gem, and the Incandescence Mandarin Ring. So I was able to get some good fortune against Arachnite. Arachnite has caused me a lot of problems over a number of years. So anytime I can get a shot on that guy with reduced defensive powers or something. So my peg cap actually came across and hit the first Skybreaker attack and rolled a 6 on Blades. And then missed the follow-up attack because he had picked Shape Change, so I didn't even get to do it. And so I was thinking, great, here we go. Arachnite's about to go off on me again. But I was able to come back in and clean it up with something else. And Sky Tyrant. I killed his Scarlet Witch. And the rest of the game, though, was a little bit of attrition. It got to the point where we were both having a hard time hitting attacks because Weapon Hex is a close attacker. And so I was a lot of just dealing with the rollouts, the Blades rollouts, and the Super Senses, and Wong with the same thing. His Felix Faust at 60 points really played big because he could just kind of bloop and do a range attack. And so I had to get very defensive towards the end. It was a pretty close game, honestly, because at the end I was having to hide my Apocalypse to keep my Blades roll out and heal up. And then eventually people, they were just like, well, why am I not attacking Ferdinand? Because he's really the thing that keeps the engine running on the team because it's constant healing. Just bring somebody back, roll the dice, heal half the result. So it was a very fun game. I always enjoyed talking to Tim in general and playing with him. So it was a good experience. And I think Dalton was able to beat Mike also. I think Dalton did too. So I don't know for sure. So that took us to the final table.
How'd the final match go for you guys?
Well, Dalton had a bad matchup against Joe Ruffing's team because they both were playing Celebrity and he played Titania, which essentially just nerfed most of Dalton's team.
Yeah, that was
And
rough.
Dalton even had told me prior to that, was like, if we meet these guys in the finals, he's like, I'm done. Like, I can't do anything against this team. And I ended up playing Joel, and we had not a mirror match. We had the same build, but there was a couple subtle differences.
So the difference for me that I thought was interesting that I think could have made it harder for you, and you luckily actually guessed right, I think, when you were trying to take out pieces, was he had the BC Black Panther, and Panther shuts off Blades within a 3 or 4 square radius of himself of opposing characters. So that for you is rough because then you don't have Blades in order for you to get your extra rollout with APOC. But I think I think that was your first piece you went after, if I'm not mistaken, when you were attacking.
I one turned to Spider Viking.
That's what it was, okay.
Because I didn't actually realize what that piece was going to do to me defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So I one turned to Spider Viking with the bird, which was good to get just kind of... I hit him... I don't think I one turned him with the bird. I got him to basically his last click and then had to clean it up. And it was ours is a really positioning heavy game. We basically met in the middle, and there was just a lot of just fight right in the middle around some blocking terrain and some other stuff. And it was funny because a couple of times, because our teams are so similar, we'd be playing our turn, and then we would realize that, wait, that's not my piece that I'm using right now.
That happened a lot.
His piece. Yeah. So it was a fun game. After I figured out what the Black Panther did, I said, well, that's my either I win or I lose. And so, honestly, Joel had me beat because he had picked up a couple of swords and didn't use them in attacks. and I ended up winning by 5 points. And so if he had just done one object attack, and he was using his blades because he still had Genesis most of the game, so he was wanting the blades +1. So it all made sense. It was a very fun game. I've played him a couple of times, and Joel's a very good player. Very, very good player. So I was happy to get the win, and it really just came down to some good luck on my behalf, honestly.
So then, what was the? Do you remember the score? I know you said you won by 5 points.
We scored. I don't know what Dalton scored. It was something like 200 to 195 or something like that. It was something like that was so close that like one other play or one other misplay would have sent it the other way.
I think
So-
Dalton only got like 15 points.
Okay, so then that would have been like 185 to 180.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a wildly fun game. I have to say I enjoyed the silver event quite a bit. I know silver proper is a little different because there's not the constraint of being Highlander, and so that's a little different than how we did it. So I think the Highlander made it a very unique event I enjoyed building for quite a bit.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I think that it really fixed a lot of my complaints with silver, just like the multiples of random pieces and trying to play the most busted pieces on every single team. So having to kind of only play one piece and then you can't play the same piece as your teammates, I think it made for an honestly really cool event.
Wasn't that similar to the Howard Brock event too, or like during H for H? I feel like it was similar. It wasn't exactly like a carbon copy, but it was like you guys.
Which one? Because they did a 400 modern 3v3.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that must have been the one that I'm thinking of? Was the 3v3? I didn't realize that was modern. I'm sorry. I thought it was silver.
It was still Highlander, but you could do whatever you wanted, like themed, unthemed, whatever. But it was still Highlander.
Okay.
But yeah, congrats to Joel and Joe, who are our 2024 ClixMania Silver 2v2 tag champs. They had a great day, and Joe had a great weekend. He came in second on Saturday and then took first on Sunday. So yeah, he did awesome.
Yeah, man, congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan, you had some rulings you wanted to go over that came up during the weekend.
Oh, you didn't know?
Yeah, so the stuff that came up there was a lot of stuff that came up on Saturday. There was some other stuff that came up on Sunday. So the stuff that came up on Saturday, one of the big ones was Porter's Pulse Wave when you have 048 on your team and also Porter. So Ghost Rider 048 reads, for his trait is, Ghost Rider and adjacent friendly characters can use their powers regardless of opposing effects protected Pulse Wave. Okay, so that does not affect Scott Porter, the white shirt Porter, when he is using his Pulse Wave. So, you don't Porter's Pulse Wave does not target friendly characters, but the first part of Pulse Wave is that no characters within range, which is the standard 4, unless you're perplexing it up. You still can't use powers or abilities during that action. So he resets all durations during his Pulse Wave, and a lot of people did not know that. And that's just Porter in general. It gets a little weird with Ghost Rider because he does protect your powers, but only from opposing effects. So, but like Porter, like I said, Porter still resets all durations anyway. During that action, so that came up right away. So I went and I think it was in between rounds. I clarified that with everyone there before the next round. I know it works a little different. One person had the PJ Lucas and Scott Pog, so that does work a little different with them because they also grant friendly characters powers have protected pulse wave, so that would actually protect them. But not many people were playing the Pog, so that was a little bit different. Another thing that came up was White Shirt Porter's +1 attack only affects characters that started the game on your force, because that's when his trigger happens. So generated characters or swaps don't get the +1 attack.
There is a few instances where they do get it for swap.
Yeah. I'm more or less thinking.
But yeah.
there was a generated character that came in that they
Yep.
were like, oh, I'll get the +1 attack, and it's like, no, because Porter's check is at the beginning of game. So, and then there was another thing with the there's a confliction with the comp and the pack as far as making close object attacks and being able to multi-target. So the comprehensive says you can't still. The pack says you can. I'm always going to lean with the comprehensive as far as that is concerned. So that was another thing that came up. And then the last big one that came up on Saturday was the Too Dangerous and Porter's Pulse Wave. So you can't Pulse Wave and then swap into the Too Dangerous arrow because you're already using a instead of normal damage effect. So you can't swap into an additional one when you are using his Pulse Wave. So that was something that definitely came up. I think it was the same with the Quake, the big arrow. So the trick arrows are they're very murky as far as when things happen, and ruling them is very interesting. I had to read a lot of material from the comp and then how they're worded in order to make sure that was going right. So I had a lot of that lined up beforehand just because I knew the trick arrows were going to see a lot of play, and I wanted to make sure I was on top of it before something happened. So that was a lot of the stuff that came up on Saturday. Let's see.
Dan, do you want to go over the official ruling with the way Amit's Tomb worked? Because it didn't need to be any better than it already was.
Yeah, so Amit's Tomb was changed from WizKids officially on the win. So hold on, let me pull that up. So the errata is when a friendly character with the listed keyword is given an action after resolutions. If they destroyed a piece of blocking terrain during that action, gain 1 clue token. So that fix now allows it to trigger twice when you use a charge because you get the proc off of the move and the close action that it grants. So you get...
I think it's basically there's two actions that have happened.
So charge, when you activate charge, since charge is an action, it's waiting for that charge to resolve, and within that charge is another action with 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you get 1 for that free, and then since that was still during the charge, it also counts as the 1 for the charge.
Yeah. So you get 2 procs of Amit's Tomb per charge. I would think that would also work with running shot. It's just charge isn't as prevalent.
Yeah, it works the same. Yeah, with charge.
Yeah,
and running shot. Yeah.
So
I don't like to be real negative unless I'm talking about Redmond. That's a terrible ruling.
So
that's an absolute broken piece. That's a broken piece of play that just got more brokest. I don't know what we're doing here.
Charge is still happening, so technically you destroyed it inside the free, inside the charge. So you get 2 triggers for destroying 1. It's just insane.
Now, even though it is pretty ridiculous and near broken, I will say the positive part about it is that it ramps up a lot quicker, so it doesn't take 3 rounds or 4 rounds to start fighting, because I've had a couple of games where I'm playing it and the opponent's playing it, and the actual action does not happen until probably the last 25% of the game. So
yeah, because you can easily get it, because with 2 Kongs, you can have 4. It's up to 4 right there. So 2 actions, you get 4.
Right.
You're not telling me that this is a good thing.
Oh,
I'm just saying that's
pretty rough.
I'm just saying that's the positive end of it.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thanks for being positive.
We lost Dan
Yeah.
here, so if he gets back on, we'll have him finish the questions that he had. Otherwise, we'll get to it next episode. But we did run live streams both days for the top tables, which you can check on our Facebook page. We broke up the day into 2 different recordings each day, Swiss Play and then Top Cut. And then we'll be uploading the individual games to our YouTube page in the near future. So check that out. There's definitely going to be a ClixMania 2025. We'll do another 2-day event, same format, bigger, better, all that good stuff. And then we're hoping to run a 1-day event in the fall, similar to Saturday's event, just the 300 Modern. So keep an eye out for that announcement in the future. We're going to start planning that pretty soon here also. But with ClixMania 2024 in the books, we won't be able to attend Gen Con, but now we're just going to be kind of turning our focus to Worlds, and we have a pretty big crew heading down there this year, which will be awesome. So,
Oh, yeah.
and then we did have some listener questions.
Your ass better call somebody.
All right. Emily says, no question, but just wanted to say thank you for streaming. I very much enjoyed watching the replay and loved how the on the ball the Judge team was with catching and addressing. So it's actually really cool to see that was even visible on stream, that everything just was smooth and the judges were on top of stuff, and that people were checking out the streams. So I think the quality was pretty good. Did you, Miles, what did you say about the live stream? It was solid,
Yeah,
right?
every time I was able to actually see it, it was fine. You didn't really hear any of the other games going on. The only thing that sucked was that it just so happened that Pete and Dalton had to play against like their perfect counters in the finals for the tag team.
Yeah.
Sadly, it's like, oh yeah, no, you can't use your blades, and Dalton's like, hey, guess what? You're celebrity. I got Titania. It's just the chances of both of them going against like counters to their teams is just so rough.
Which could have gone the other way too if it was with the hot tag and everything, if it happened in Swiss. So yeah, it was interesting for sure. So yeah, thanks for checking it out, Emily. And then Wesley Robertson, how excited is Miles for a new Aquaman, and does he think it'll be meta, not having seen the dial yet?
I'm stoked for Aquaman. I don't know if it's gonna be meta. Hopefully I can win an event with it, like I did with the Batman team up one. I'm hoping he's good. It's hard for me to be stoked for anything that's not Starro from the set. Like, I'll be honest. Like, that's the once Starro was revealed, like that's where my mind is. It's gonna be hard for any Aquaman to top the Starro Legacy card. So
Now, is there for sure an Aquaman in this new set, or is he talking about the big dinosaur one?
No, they also showed with the big dinosaur. There was for the solicit they showed is the same. Is a sculpt reuse of the Batman team up one, but it was next to it. So I'm assuming that's going to be the same.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I think from what it looks like too, that looks like the whatever colossal you get, there's like a specific rare that comes with it. Because I mean, the Superman or the Super Sword came with Superman, the Wonder Dawn came with a Wonder Woman, and then the Flash Raptor came with Flash. So I mean, obviously, we've only gotten those 3, so I don't know if it's going to correlate for future. But it was interesting that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I didn't even realize that.
Miles, what are the percentage chances that Aquaman is actually good? Just based on HeroClix history and Aquaman characters.
Okay, so first off, people just aren't willing to take a chance. But the fact that it's just small maps, it's hard for me to say that Dolphin's playable right now with just small maps. So I'm gonna say that's the 25% chance. Probably the same chance that Samoa Joe has at beating Scott Steiner at Sacrifice. Hopefully you guys can just look up Steiner math and you guys can get that joke.
Oh, I love Steiner math.
Actually, just piggybacking off of... What's that?
Yeah. I said spells disaster for Aquaman.
Piggybacking off that, though, now that large maps are officially retired from Modern, should the Dolphin movement be ratified to reflect the smaller map space? If so, what would be a good option?
I personally think so, and I would like it to, since they half the range and everything, like from 6 to 4. It almost seems like overkill to go from 4 to 2 squares. But I think that it needs to be something to make them extremely playable. And I would like to actually see them targeted, unless a figure is like probably a close attack. So I guess giant reach is probably the only thing. I'd like to see it to where they can't be targeted unless the character's adjacent.
Now that would definitely affect silver though too. You don't think it would be too overpowered if you bring
that's the whole entire point too, that you have to see how you're going to fix it to be implemented into silver. It's tough. It's really tough. I guess you can just have like lines of fire or blocked. I mean, there's different wording for it because, like I said, with silver it becomes insane. I honestly like the way it is, just because of how it's going to work in silver. So I'm not sure how I would really rework it, because it still can come in handy if you're going second or first. I mean, on a map.
I honestly thought we were going to see
maps,
Dolphin teams with the release of, was that Notorious that came out, and they just never really happened.
Right. Yeah. Well, people tried, and the problem is that Dolphin's not good on small maps.
That's true.
You have to play it on big maps, and that's why when I was winning with Darkside Dolphin, everyone asked like, "Why am I not putting people on Lance Throne Room?" It's because I want to win first. That's I'm not going to choose a small map if they can come and get me. That's the one thing that's really hurting Dolphin and it's tough to fix it without making it overpowered for other formats.
Right, exactly.
Because if you make it like they can only be targeted by adjacent characters, in silver, Dolphin becomes insane.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then Wesley Robinson's last question was from what I've seen. When WizKids has an extra special figure like an Ultra Chase, they usually make a point to send one to Scott Porter or Dial H to show it off to the community. As of today, the Ultra Chase for Masters of Time has not been seen. Why do you think that is? Is this another Kevin mess up where they lost track of their own Ultra Chase for the second time in a row? I'm just glad Kevin didn't show up in the brick.
Well, what Ultra Chase was given to Porter? The only Ultra Chase that I can remember is Kevin specifically with Dial H.
He usually gets them all. He got Mephisto, and what was the other one he got before that?
He didn't get Zod.
Did he not? No, he got the Cake Deadpool, I think, right? Did he?
From his brick, right?
I thought so. I thought he usually opens the Ultra Chase. Doesn't he? I know he got Mephisto.
I don't remember him opening up Zod. Yeah, he didn't open up Zod. Zod was not revealed yet.
No, he was shown off at Worlds when somebody opened him up, right?
Yeah. I think it was just Mephisto. And then it skipped Zod, and then maybe they're just going to cancel this Ultra Chase because he's broken. I'm just going to go with that answer. They cancel this Ultra Chase because he's broken.
Yeah, I just hope that he's not sitting on a pallet somewhere across the ocean. So,
spoilers, because shouldn't be saying this, but we're going to reveal him because we're going to be the first to pull him. There we go. That's
man, I hope that's not a mistake that happens twice. I mean, there's no reason for it.
Deal with the chase boosters. I guess this is going to be the interesting time to put our tinfoil hats on and see, because this set didn't have solicited chase boosters. So we'll see if the amount of mistakes are a lot less than the last two sets, since there is no chase booster or extra stuff inside boosters.
Well, the whole thing is just different, though, with the Colossal booster. So there's still like a varying element.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why I think those boosters are specifically built. That's why I think that those boosters are specific. I don't think those are random.
Well, yeah, maybe the Masters of Time Chase is exclusive into the retail Chase boosters also. So there will be a total of 7 this year that are released.
There's no retail chase boosters for Masters of Time.
that they've shown yet. You don't think they're going to make them?
Well, they announced them with the last two sets. They didn't announce it with a solicit for Masters of Time like they did with the last two sets.
I don't even think there was a solicit for the Deadpool Weapon X ones in the on the win.
I feel like that's not going away.
Yeah, it's kind of just another really good way to have in-store events. So and prizing. So it's honestly a really good element. So I don't see it going away.
Figure out something with the bystanders.
Yeah, that's rough.
And I also, for the record, have never ever taken off my tinfoil hat, so I've been prepared this whole time.
Good.
2024 ClixMania undisputed champion Matthew Prignano asks, "Is Brock's bunker the new meta map?" As long as Kongs are on 80% of all the teams, I would say it's a must play on your build. So try to catch one if you can.
Yeah, it's a new Morlock Tunnels because especially going second, I think the amount of defense that you can play on it is extremely good.
It has
I
more
think it's-
walls than just blocking and space to cover, though, so I don't find it as oppressive as Morlock Tunnels.
No, it's not, but you're able to build a decent defense in order so you're not getting wiped by all these Alpha Strike teams.
Which is good. What were you going to say, Pete?
No, I think it's absolutely the meta map. I think it alters. It gives at least something for cons to have to deal with. It's not just like, because I'm gonna be real honest as a Kong abuser myself. If I win map roll, I take people to Wakanda. So put your blocking, put your elevated, do whatever you want. I'm coming right across this map, and there's nothing you can do about it. So that's absolutely a good counter to a very big piece that's going to be a part of the meta. I mean, it's going to be at least on most builds, at least one of them, maybe not two of them. So
see, that's tough. If I was running your team to put them on a Wakanda map because they have first turn immunity, so I can't just on my turn go to them and attack.
Pete doesn't care.
Attack.
He does not want to see any terrain that you have on the map. He just wants some trees and some water, and he just wants to fly across the map and start rolling dice.
I'll be honest with you. Your boy's been studying Mern because I saw what he did to maps, and he basically just makes them not part of the game.
Yep.
So,
I love Mern.
Yeah.
Peter Marshfield asks, "What game elements perform better than you expected in your games?" I would have to probably say the top of that list was the Assassin team. So obviously Raz, it was awesome to see Deadpool Hitmonkey do really good, and Mern caught a lot of people off guard. Would you say there's anything?
Mern caught anybody off guard.
Yeah. It took this long for to really see Mern.
So the thing is I expected to see Mern on like a Heidi team where you're just trying to perplex up your range and shoot. And this was a team that he basically put in the middle of the map, protected everybody, and then if you moved in, you're within 4. Mern was right in the front, and then he barriers up with the ring. You did not expect Mern to be played on an Assassin's team where you could lose all of your defense powers and they can just keep picking targets. So that was just out of the blue and worked crazy good.
I like that they're playing Mern like he's supposed to, not leaving him off this because they don't want him to die. It's that's not what everyone's stuck on Mern, making it to where you can draw a line of fire. No, the bread and butter to Mern is him not letting characters modify combat values, and by leaving them away from your team and away from your opponents, I think is the wrong way to play him. So the fact that we actually had somebody do good well and play Mern correctly was good to see.
Well,
yeah,
Mern's not an easy points. I mean, he's just not. So you can play him pretty aggressively. He had that was Joe, right? Joe Ruffing.
Yeah, that played him.
He had such a great weekend. I mean, his builds were just very different than what everything else, and he knew what people were going to play going, and not that he knew, but he guessed it really well, and he was ready for it. So yeah, the traffic barrel, it's good. I hate it, but it's good. It causes problems. What else? What was cool stuff to see this weekend? Your Vox Ignis team was cool. That was a
Yeah,
very
seeing that
unique build.
4-1 leading a cut was awesome to see that, because you and me were talking about that.
Yeah,
And the
when
fact that it was able to perform with not a lot of practice was huge.
when it worked, and then there was just it came into some games where it fell apart, but it was definitely fun to play, and it was good to see Vox actually like still do well in a game.
Yeah.
And you've really played variations of that mystical team, mostly being Arachnite, and so you're exceptional with it. And it's a tough matchup for a lot of teams. So that was cool to see. Seeing Prime Colossus in action, he's disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't anticipate that guy going anywhere.
he lived up to the potential, I think. I don't know if it was like what I didn't expect him to do well, but it's always that thing where you look at a piece and you're like, yeah, this could be pretty good, and then it just does not work. But he definitely lived up to his potential, I think. And then he asks, what game elements underperformed in your games? Do you guys have anything? Or, well, Pete, do you have anything for that?
Sorry, mic issue for a second. What'd you say?
So he asked, what game elements underperformed in your games? I can't think of something. Is Green Lantern just keeps dying to Kongs, so I might have to finally ditch him. That's what I would actually say. Miles, did you see
Hal Jordan? Or
no the KC one?
Yeah, that's.
There's just too much
He's
now.
one that
he goes down every game so fast.
I think that he saw his peak.
Yeah.
And it was a great peak in Modern, but yeah, it's almost like the only way I can see him being played and like being brutal again is getting with the broadsword with Prime Iron Spider. That's the only way at the moment, because it's just.
Yeah, I think he's about done.
He's just. The leadership's great though, I guess.
It is, but if that's your only leadership, he's dead, and now you don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's probably my answer, because that's what happened the most. It was probably the most consistent bad thing that happened that wasn't just kind of like by luck or chance. Pete, did you have an answer for that one? Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. I have to say Mephisto is still 50-50 on whether he's dominant on the board or just giving up 30 points every couple of rounds.
I farmed him a few times.
For me personally, and in matches against other people I played, there wasn't anything that just didn't work very well. I think the problem with Super Rare Madison is if you end up against two Kongs, like she's essentially just dead quick, or Rare Madison. But that's true of a lot of support pieces, so I don't think it's exclusive to her. You just don't get your shape change.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. So I don't think that's really like a failure, because her double perplex is huge. So I'm just trying to think quick. Not really. I love Legacy Green Lantern. I play that piece a lot. I play that piece on Monday nights full points. So I am sad to see him kind of leave our collective consciousness, because I think it's like you said, it's just too easy right now to kill him. Which is crazy to say.
When he rotates, I think there's something there as Temple and Silver. I will say that. When he rotates.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And then last, Peter asks, a separate note, is the monthly championship belt a replica, and how much did it run you guys to get it made? So it was a custom belt. I can send you the website, Peter. And then I think, Pete, you made the first one for the old belt and the old monthly stuff. That one, do you remember how much that one costed? I think
it was like $225 or something.
Okay, I don't think the prices went up that much, because I think that's what about this one was too. But I'll send you a link to the website, because you basically can customize everything and get like graphics on it now and everything. So I think they've made some improvements even since when I got it. So definitely check it out, because it's a cool thing to have for your play group.
I have to recommend it for any play group that gets together. Like there's just something really fun even about just holding it up for pictures and that. It's wildly fun to have one.
Yeah, if you have a store or a play group you guys play with, definitely get something like that just to have like a champion of the play group. Definitely highly recommended. Joe Miles, who was at the store and played this weekend, said, I'm going to play catch up on Spotify. That's good to hear. And then Matthew Zielinski would love a 300 modern look ahead as an after rotation. Matt, we're definitely going to be doing a episode soon, something similar to that. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Was that Joel Miles that said that?
Joe Miles. I think it's
Joe Miles.
Yeah. Either I think Dave.
So Joe, I want to apologize in advance that you're going to learn nothing from anything I've contributed to this podcast, but enjoy listening. Thanks for this.
Oh, you learned a ton from him. Yeah, I give Matt a shout out. That's going to be my partner this weekend, so we're going for blood.
Oh, okay, very nice. Did you want to talk about your event before we sign off here, Miles?
Yep. So it's 300 points. I'm getting the post right now. I'm horrible at this. I'm getting everything ready. I had it ready, and then it was gone. It's going to be at Monmouth in Independence, Oregon, Monmouth Street in Independence, Oregon, which is like right outside of Salem. It's Extreme Highlander 2v2 theme format. And I know someone was complaining that why are you using the same keyword for both teams when there can only be one? And the answer to that is because there can only be one keyword. So both players have to use the same keyword. Extreme Highlander means that you cannot use any game elements besides 1x1 standard terrain on your builds. So far, we got 19 people out of 32 signed up, so there's still some spots open. We're going to have Battle Royals on the side. It's going to be July 27th, which is this Saturday. Registration starts at 9 a.m., and the dice start rolling at 10 a.m. So please contact me if you have any further questions about it, or even the ClixMania dads on Facebook. Trying to get a nice Oregon event since sadly the Eagles have retired and Gongai Games is no longer the premier store for the Pacific Northwest. So we're trying to really put a Band-Aid on this wound that's pretty much out of blood at the moment.
Yeah, and Gongai was amazing. It was a very, very sad loss.
Yeah, I agree. Gongai and the Eagles are both instrumental in me having a lot of great Clicks memories. So.
Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, next week we'll go over that event, Miles, and I think that'll probably do it for today. Any final thoughts, guys?
I want to just throw some laurels at everybody. I want to give a huge shout out to Coliseum Games out of Kenosha, Wisconsin. You can find them on the internet and order from them. They're a wonderful store. The staff is wonderfully supportive. They had us set up with a side room for the streaming to go well, and they're just a good group of guys that really enjoy not only some HeroClix, but a ton of other games. So if you're into any of that stuff, please check them out. Jeremy and Dan did an exceptional job. Like, so you couldn't have asked for two better judges the whole weekend. And to the whole community, it was awesome to see Northern Illinois and Wisconsin and other places that showed up, and everybody came with great attitudes and was there to have fun. And so I have to say it was a blast of a weekend. On a personal note, like, I had a ton of fun just outside of the event, just having Dan and Dalton be over and just getting to spend some time with those guys and talk to them about, HeroClix and what else is going on in their lives, and just building those relationships, which is what the biggest part of this game is to me, is we have something mutual in common that we can always talk about. After that, I'm switching into gear for Worlds. I'm going to have a ton of terrible builds that you guys can tear apart constantly, so that'll be great.
I know I'm looking forward to that.
I know you are, and I'm looking forward to spending some quality time with my main man, Miles Kane, in the wonderful city.
I don't think that they're prepared for it. They're not ready for it.
No, they're not. So, but we're going to make
this might be the last year that the Worlds is in Memphis.
Yeah, there may actually be a billboard on the way out of Memphis after this that Degeneration Clix is not allowed back.
Yeah, we have to, probably in Graceland, so we might have to start staying at La Quinta. So,
yeah.
All right, is that your final thought there, Miles?
Yep.
All right, yeah, I second what Pete said there. It was just honestly an awesome weekend. Usually by round 4 or 5, things are kind of dragging, and I was surprised when round 5 was over. It felt like it was the end of round 3 at any other event. So, yeah, I really couldn't ask for it to go much better. So,
We even got a meal break, and it wasn't super hot or sweaty in there, so it was great.
Yeah, nothing but good things to say. So keep an eye out for our announcement. Hopefully something like mid fall. So, all right, with that, we will see you next episode.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya. Click it.